Imagine a crowd gathered on a hillside, captivated by a man named Jesus. He begins to speak. His words are simple, yet profound, challenging, yet comforting. This is the setting for the Sermon on the Mount, a timeless message that continues to resonate thousands of years later. Found in the Gospel of Matthew, chapters 5 to 7, it's a blueprint for living a life that is truly meaningful and impactful. The Sermon on the Mount isn't just a set of rules or a history lesson. It's a radical call to live differently, to embrace a higher standard of love, grace, and compassion. In a world often driven by self-interest and power, Jesus offers a different way, a path characterized by humility, service, and forgiveness. This sermon isn't just for theologians or scholars, it's for everyday people, for those seeking meaning and purpose in a complex world. It's a message that transcends time, culture, and background, offering timeless wisdom for navigating the challenges and opportunities of life. Whether you're a lifelong believer or simply curious about the teachings of Jesus, the Sermon on the Mount has something to offer. It's an invitation to embark on a journey of transformation, a journey that can lead to a life of greater purpose, joy, and fulfillment. The Sermon on the Mount begins with a series of statements known as the Beatitudes. These blessings, however, aren't about material wealth or worldly success. They paint a picture of spiritual well-being, outlining the character traits of those who are truly blessed. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Jesus begins. This isn't about financial poverty, but about recognizing our spiritual need for God. It's about humility, acknowledging that we don't have it all figured out. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted, he continues. This speaks to the comfort found in God's presence, especially during times of grief and loss. It acknowledges the reality of suffering while offering hope for healing. The Beatitudes challenge our conventional understanding of happiness. They teach us that true joy isn't found in accumulating possessions or achieving status. True blessedness comes from cultivating inner qualities like humility, compassion, and a hunger for righteousness. These qualities, Jesus suggests, are the keys to experiencing the fullness of God's kingdom. Jesus calls his followers the salt of the earth and the light of the world. These vivid metaphors illustrate the impact he desires his followers to have on the world. Salt, in ancient times, was a precious commodity. It not only flavored food, but also acted as a preservative. As salt, Christians are called to preserve the goodness and truth of God's kingdom in a world often tainted by decay and corruption. This involves standing up for justice, speaking out against injustice, and promoting values that reflect God's heart. Light, of course, dispels darkness. It illuminates, guides, and reveals what is hidden. As light, Christians are to reflect God's love and truth in a world often shrouded in darkness, doubt, and despair. This involves living authentic lives, demonstrating compassion and kindness, and pointing others towards the hope found in a relationship with God. These metaphors remind us that our faith isn't meant to be hidden or kept private. It's meant to make a difference in the world, to influence our communities and relationships for the better. We are called to be agents of change, bringing flavor, light, and hope to a world in desperate need. Section 4. Love your enemies. Radical love in action. Perhaps the most challenging teaching in the Sermon on the Mount is the call to love our enemies. Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, Jesus instructs. This goes against our natural human instincts. When someone wrongs us, our natural inclination is to retaliate, seek revenge, or at least keep our distance. Yet Jesus calls us to a different way, a way of radical, countercultural love. This love isn't merely a feeling, but an active choice, a decision to treat others with kindness, respect, and compassion, even when they don't deserve it. It's about breaking the cycle of hatred and violence by extending grace and forgiveness, even to those who have hurt us deeply. This teaching doesn't mean condoning abuse or allowing ourselves to be walked on. It means responding to hate with love, choosing forgiveness over bitterness, and seeking reconciliation whenever possible. It's a tall order, a radical concept that requires supernatural empowerment. Section 5, the Lord's Prayer, a model for communication. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus provides a model for prayer known as the Lord's Prayer. This prayer isn't meant to be recited rotely, but to serve as a guide for our own conversations with God. Our Father in heaven, it begins, acknowledging God's loving, paternal nature. It then moves to praise, expressing reverence for God's name and kingdom. We then bring our requests to God. asking for our daily needs to be met and for forgiveness for our shortcomings. The prayer culminates with a plea for deliverance from temptation and protection from evil. This reminds us that we are engaged in a spiritual battle and need God's strength and guidance to overcome the challenges we face. The Lord's Prayer teaches us to approach God with humility, reverence, and honesty. It reminds us that we can bring all our needs, concerns, and aspirations to God, trusting in His love, provision, and power. Section 6, the Golden Rule, a universal ethic. The Golden Rule, found in Matthew 7 verse 12, encapsulates the essence of Jesus' ethical teachings. In everything, do to others what you would have them do to you, he states. This simple yet profound principle provides a universal guide for our interactions with others. It challenges us to step outside our own perspectives and consider the needs and feelings of others. It calls us to treat others with the same kindness, respect, and compassion that we desire for ourselves. This rule applies to all areas of life, from our relationships with family and friends to our interactions with strangers and even our treatment of those we consider enemies. Imagine a world where everyone lived by the Golden Rule. It would be a world marked by greater understanding, empathy, and peace. While we may not be able to control the actions of others, we can choose to live by this principle, making a positive impact on the world around us. Section 7. Conclusion: living the sermon today. The Sermon on the Mount remains as relevant today as it was 2,000 years ago. Its teachings offer timeless wisdom for navigating the complexities of life, relationships, and faith. While the world has changed dramatically since Jesus first delivered this sermon, the human condition remains remarkably similar. We still long for meaning, purpose, and connection. We still grapple with issues of justice, injustice, peace, and conflict. The teachings of the Sermon on the Mount provide guidance for navigating these challenges, calling us to be peacemakers, bridge builders, and agents of reconciliation in a fractured world. Living out the principles of the Sermon on the Mount is a lifelong journey, not a destination. It's about embracing the countercultural values of humility, compassion, forgiveness, and radical love. It's about being salt and light in a world that desperately needs the flavor and illumination of God's kingdom. As we seek to live out these teachings, we will undoubtedly face challenges and setbacks, but we can draw strength and inspiration from the one who first spoke these words, knowing that he is with us always, empowering us to live lives that reflect his love, grace, and truth.